Libyan military forces say that they've detained over 300 migrants who were crossing the desert and trying to make it to the shores of the Mediterranean. Now, this massive group of men, women, and children were stopped by a desert patrol, according to reports early yesterday. It's important to note that Libya has become a key transit route for hundreds of thousands of migrants fleeing conflict and poverty across both Africa and the Middle East who hope to cross the Mediterranean to make their way to Europe. And joining us now is former Italian Middle East envoy Marco Carnelos. Marcos, tell us about the migrant crisis and how it has been affecting Libya. I mean, how many people actually pass through the country yearly?
Well, it's quite difficult to say because there are not reliable statistics. It's affecting the country very much because, there's no central government. There are conflicting tribes and warlords. We estimate that there are about 700,000 migrants coming from nearby countries, mainly Niger, Chad, Sudan, Egypt. And it's a huge task for Libya because, as we all know, there's not an effective governance in the country that can focus on this problem. Furthermore, the conflict in the Middle East, in Gaza and Lebanon, is reducing the spotlight on the migrant crisis in the Mediterranean. We are all much more concerned a possible wave of refugees from Lebanon, Syria, and so on. And Italy remains highly committed on the migrant crisis in the Mediterranean because, as we all know, it's the main place where the migrants coming from Northern Africa are going to arrive in order to put their foot on the Italian soil, and from the Italian soil go elsewhere inside the European Union.
Right. I mean, what happens to these migrants once they are detained by Libyan forces? Amnesty International cites major abuses.
Yes, that's correct. And it's not only Amnesty International, there's also the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees that is emphasizing that the migrants were, when they are in Libya, are subject to abuse, torture, starvation, and basically it's a very inhumane treatment that has created a lot of concern. This is a story going on since years. It's not something recent, as the latest problems you just raised at the beginning of your transmission.
What is being done to address this issue, if anything?
Well, addressing this issue is quite complicated in a way, because first of all, we have to consider that the number of people who are dying is very, very high, and especially in the desert, because sadly, tragically, when the people die at sea, usually the sea gives back the bodies. But the major number of people we suspect they die crossing the Sahara deserts. And when the people die in the desert and the sun bury them. So in order to have an estimate, it's very difficult. At the moment, only Italy is actively involved. There's a plan by the Meloni government to resettle the migrants in Albania. But this plan is very costly and has also been challenged by the Italian juridical authorities on legal terms. So at the moment, it's stuck. And nobody at the moment is doing very much in order to face this crisis that has its roots in war and the economic situation in Africa and in certain part of Africa, what is called sub-Saharan Africa.